10 rappers the culture has been trying to forget for decades. And I'm not talking about one-hit wonders who came and went before anybody noticed. I'm talking about artists who had platinum plaques on the wall, major label deals, primetime features, and still couldn't rap. Some of these names had the whole industry behind them. Some had family connections, some had money, some had everything except actual bars. And the craziest part, a few of them are still out here acting like the culture owes them something. You already know some of these names, but the stories behind why they were so bad and how they got so far anyway. That's the part nobody ever breaks down. Let's get into it. Number 10, Soulja Boy. Now, before you hit me with, but he changed the game, stay with me on this one, because there's a difference between being influential and being good. And Soulja Boy, he proved you could be one without the other. No, you can't do it like me, though, so don't do it like me, folks. DeAndre Cortez Way is a teenager from Mississippi uploading tracks to the internet before the music industry even understood what the internet was. Crank that drop, the dance goes viral. The song hits #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And just like that, a 17-year-old kid from Batesville is outselling rappers who've been sharpening their craft for decades. But here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The bars were terrible. Not raw, not he'll grow into it terrible. The kind of terrible where the entire song is built around a dance move and a Superman reference that your little cousin could have written during recess. And that's not even a diss. Soulja Boy himself has basically admitted that lyricism was never the point, and here's where it gets complicated. Because while Ice-T was on camera calling the kids music garbage, which it was, from a pure bars perspective, Soulja Boy was rewriting the entire blueprint for how artists get discovered. He was the first rapper to prove that you didn't need a label, didn't need radio, didn't need a cosign. You just needed Wi-Fi and a hook that stuck. That changed everything, and the industry hated him for it. Because if a kid with no bars could go platinum off the internet, what did that say about the whole system they'd built? But influence doesn't make you a good rapper. It makes you a pioneer. And sometimes pioneers open doors that let everybody in, including the people who probably should have stayed outside. If you think the state of lyricism started falling off in the late 2000s, you can trace a straight line back to Crank That. And that's not all Soulja Boy's fault, but he lit the match. Number 9, Shaquille O'Neal. I know, some of you are already typing, but hear me out because this one is wilder than you remember. Shaq is 21 years old, fresh off winning NBA Rookie of the Year with the Orlando Magic, and somebody at Jive Records thinks, you know what, let's give the 7'1" center a rap album. Not a vanity project, not a promotional single, a full album with real producers. All you jealous punks can't stop my dunks. Eric Sermon from EPMD, Ali Shaheed Muhammad from A Tribe Called Quest. They actually put heavy hitters behind the boards for this. And here's what's crazy. Shaq Diesel goes platinum. Over 1 million copies sold. 3 singles in the top 10 on the Hot Rap Songs chart. People walk around like, yo, they get charged, but I'm big like a gorilla. 6'7" The man had a legitimate rap career by the numbers. He dropped 4 albums between 1993 and 1998. Had features from Biggie, Jay-Z, Mobb Deep, Rakim. You could build a classic album out of the people who appeared on Shaq Records. But here's the problem. Every time those features came on, you realized exactly how far out of his depth Shaq was. Biggie would deliver a verse on his album, and then Shaq would come in sounding like he was reading a book report about being tough. The man rhymed skill with thrills, with bills on back-to-back bars like he was running a spelling bee. And you know what's wild? He knew. In a 2001 interview with Billboard, Shaq admitted he struggled with credibility because of being famous for something else. He said he took the music seriously, that it wasn't a novelty thing, and I believe him. But taking something seriously and being good at it are 2 different realities. Nobody questioned his passion, they questioned his bars, and rightfully so. Because when you're standing next to Rakim on a track and your verse sounds like a rookie trying to freestyle in the barbershop, the culture noticed every single time. You can't buy skill. And platinum plaques don't make you a good rapper, they make you a successful one. And that's a completely different conversation. Real talk. Only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 8, Diddy, Puff Daddy. I'm a thug, I'm a die. I be out in Jersey, puffin' Hershey. And I already know this one is going to split the comments because you can't talk about Sean Combs as a rapper without talking about everything else he did. Wherever you get stacks, I'ma fix that. Everything that's big dreams, I did. The man built Bad Boy Records from nothing, launched Biggie's career, helped shape the entire sound of 90s hip-hop from behind the scenes, but none of that means he could actually rap. Now it's showing on the hot track, melt like it's hot wax, put it out, all the stores. N.W.A out drops. The album goes 7 times platinum. Can't Nobody Hold Me Down sits at number 1 on the Hot 100 for 6 weeks. It's All About the Benjamins becomes an anthem. The money, the lifestyle, the shiny suits. Puffy was everywhere. But if you go back and actually listen, not vibe to, not play at the cookout, but listen, you realize something. On almost every major track, somebody else is doing the heavy lifting. Don't knock me 'cause you're boring. I'm record sales soaring. Mace is carrying the verses. Biggie, who was already gone by the time the album dropped, is carrying the hooks through posthumous features. The locks are in the background, making it sound like bars are actually being delivered. And Puffy, his contributions were ad-libs, recycled motivational phrases, and the ability to yell his own name at the right time. Take that, bad boy, baby. Can't stop, won't stop. That's not rapping, that's branding on a beat. And here's where it gets political, because nobody in the industry would say it, not publicly. Not when he controlled the biggest hip-hop label in New York. Not when he had the Rolodex, the connections, the budget. You don't tell the man writing the checks that he can't rap. You just nod, cash the feature check, and hope your verse makes the song work despite his. Leave a nigga with a hot hat, frontin' like Bad Boy ain't got track. The Locks literally begged to get off Bad Boy. They held a rally, a public demonstration to get released from their contract. You know how bad things have to get for artists to stage a protest against their own label? Why you wanna take us under? And while there were many reasons for that tension, let's not pretend Puffy's insistence on being the centerpiece of records that needed real MCs wasn't part of the problem. Billionaire businessman? No question. Cultural architect? Absolutely. Rapper? Not even close. Number 7, MC Hammer. and this is the one that's going to make some of you turn this whole video off. I get it, because MC Hammer wasn't just a rapper, he was a moment, but that moment had a cost, and the culture is still paying for it. Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em drops and does the unthinkable. It moves over 10 million copies. You Can't Touch This, which sampled Rick James's Super Freak, becomes the biggest crossover rap record in history at that point. We crush the strong and percolate the weak daily. We make our move to improve. Stanley Kirk Burrell from Oakland is suddenly performing at the Grammys, doing choreographed routines on primetime, selling out arenas. He was the first hip-hop artist to achieve diamond status for an album. That's a fact. But here's the thing that was eating at the culture even then. While Hammer was doing the Running Man on national television, real MCs were getting overlooked. Rakim was out there rewriting the rules of lyricism. KRS-One was dropping knowledge. Big Daddy Kane was proving that swagger and skill could coexist. And the mainstream was ignoring all of them for a man whose biggest contribution to the mic was rhyming touch with such over somebody else's beat. And you know who said it best? Every serious MC in the late 80s and early 90s who refused to be in the same sentence as Hammer. The culture drew a line. On one side, you had hip-hop. On the other, you had pop rap. And Hammer was the poster child for the side that prioritized choreography over content. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but he opened doors. And that's fair. Hammer brought hip-hop to audiences that never would have listened otherwise. But at what cost? Because the template he set, flashy visuals, simple lyrics, dance-first content, that blueprint got recycled for decades. Every time a rapper with no bars gets a #1 record because the beat and the video carried them, there's a little Hammer DNA in there. And that part still doesn't sit right with some heads who were there when it happened. Number 6, Benzino. I'm getting money on my block all night, running with a bunch of born to fight. And here's where the conversation shifts from bad at rapping to bad at rapping, and had the audacity to control how we rated everyone else. Raymond Scott from Boston, co-founder of The Source magazine, the Bible of hip-hop for over a decade, the publication that gave us the 5-mic rating system, the magazine that put Biggie, Nas, Jay-Z, and Tupac on the map. And Benzino used that platform, that sacred platform, to pretend he was a rapper who belonged in the same conversation. His group, the almighty RSO, bounced around labels in the late 80s and early 90s without ever making a dent. Made Men, his next project, got a 4.5 mic review in his own magazine. And when the staff found out, they walked out, an actual walkout, because the people who worked at The Source understood something Benzino never did. You can't rate yourself a classic. But the real damage came in 2002 when The Source gave the Eminem show 4 out of 5 mics. Eminem went public about feeling blackballed, and Benzino, instead of letting the magazine's credibility speak for itself, made it personal. He dropped diss tracks, Pull Your Skirt Up, Die Another Day. He went after Eminem's daughter. He tried to weaponize The Source as a personal vendetta machine, and Eminem responded with Nail in the Coffin, one of the most surgical diss records in hip-hop history. Destroyed Benzino's credibility, his rap career, and eventually the magazine itself. By 2006, Benzino was out at The Source. The publication never recovered its authority. And hip-hop lost its most important critical institution because one man couldn't accept that he wasn't good enough to be in his own magazine. He even admitted it later, on camera, told the world Eminem could rap, that the beef was wrong. But by then, the damage was done. the source was a shell of itself, and Benzino's legacy wasn't as a rapper or even as a media mogul. It was as the man who burned down hip-hop's most important house because he couldn't get a seat at the table he built. Number 5, Magoo. This one I need you to sit with for a second, because what happened to Melvin Barcliff is one of the strangest stories in hip-hop history. The worst rapper most people have ever heard, paired with one of the greatest producers who ever lived. Timbaland and Magoo met as teenagers in Virginia in the early 90s. Same crew, same dreams, same hustle. They came up through the Swing Mob Collective with Missy Elliott, N.W.A, and a young kid named Pharrell Williams. By 1997, Timbaland was already reshaping the sound of popular music, and Magoo was right there next to him. Not because he earned it with bars, but because loyalty meant something in that circle. Their debut album, Welcome to Our World, dropped in 1997. Up Jumps the Boogie, featuring Missy Elliott and Aaliyah, hit number 1 on the Hot Rap Songs chart, number 12 on the Hot 100. The song was a smash. And every time it came on, people hit the dance floor during Missy's hook and Timbaland's production, and then politely tolerated Magoo's verses until the next chorus. His voice was high-pitched, nasally, and rhythmically uncertain. Critics compared him to Q-Tip, which he hated because Q-Tip was actually good. Magoo himself admitted in a 2020 interview that Timbaland gave him a choice: rap the way he'd been rapping for the streets and sell 200,000, or adjust his style and sell 1 million. Magoo chose the 1 million, and it worked commercially. 3 albums, but critically, every review read the same way: great production, terrible rapping, and here's the part that gets me. Despite being called the worst rapper alive for decades on lists, on Twitter, even getting dissed by Travis Scott on Wax Magoo, never really fought it. He just stepped back from music. Said in interviews he never enjoyed the success, never felt like they got a chance to celebrate what they built. In August 2023, Magoo died of a heart attack. He was 50 years old, and the tributes that poured in from Timbaland, from Missy, from N.W.A, none of them talked about his rapping. They talked about his loyalty, his friendship. The fact that he introduced Missy to Timbaland, that he was part of the foundation that built Virginia's entire contribution to hip-hop. Sometimes the worst rapper in the room is the most important person in the room, and nobody realizes it until they're gone. Number 4, Marky Mark. I'm talking about Mark Wahlberg, the Oscar-nominated actor, the guy from The Departed and Boogie Nights. Before all of that, he was trying to be a rapper, and it was exactly as bad as it sounds. Mark Wahlberg is 20 years old. His older brother Donnie is already famous as a member of New Kids on the Block. And Mark, who'd been in and out of trouble, including a felony assault conviction, decides he's going to break into hip-hop as Marky Mark with a group called the Funky Bunch. Just before the story was known, Charles had a film that his couple was... Good Vibrations drops, and the unthinkable happens. It hits number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Marky Mark the second white rapper to top the chart right after Vanilla Ice, and hip-hop collectively put its head in its hands because the song was pure pop. The lyrics were nursery school level. and the entire appeal was that Mark was doing shirtless Calvin Klein ads at the same time, which meant teenage girls were buying the record for reasons that had absolutely nothing to do with hip-hop. Here's what's interesting, though. The album Music for the People went platinum. He had a follow-up single, Wild Side, that charted. He was on Arsenio Hall. He was doing the late-night circuit. For about 18 months, Marky Mark was a legitimate pop rap act, but the culture wasn't having it.
So he jumped off a bridge, committed suicide. This is how it is.
Real heads saw right through it. This was a manufactured product. A boy band kid with abs and a publicist being packaged as a rapper because somebody at Interscope saw dollar signs. And when you actually listen to the bars, not the beat, not the hook, the actual bars, there was nothing there.
He's a rich man. Gold on every finger of his hand. A brand new BMW.
No wordplay, no storytelling, no flow. Just a dude yelling motivational phrases over a sample. And here's the thing about Marky Mark that most people forget. He knew. He figured it out faster than most people on this list.
Misery and wreck. Everyone a suspect till someone was found.
By 1993, the rap career was done. He pivoted to acting and never looked back, became one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and to this day, he barely talks about the music. Not because he's embarrassed, though he probably should be, but because he understood something that a lot of rappers on this list never figured out.
Shattered pride, all because Annie took a hit.
If you're not built for it, get out before the culture pushes you out. Smart move, terrible rapper, but smart move.
The headaches, so Ron figured out a faster way to make money before you know it.
Number 3, Birdman. And this is the entry where being a bad rapper becomes secondary to what it cost everybody around you, because Brian Williams wasn't just bad on the mic. He was the head of an empire. And that empire ran on other people's talent while he kept insisting on being heard. Cash Money Records, co-founded by Birdman and his brother Slim in 1991 out of New Orleans. They built one of the most successful independent labels in hip-hop history.
Back on my block, nigga, gun up in my hand.
Juvenile, B.I.G. Lil Wayne, Manny Fresh, Hot Boys. The roster was stacked. The sound was undeniable. In Birdman, his contribution to the mic was rubbing his hands together and talking about money in the most monotone, rhythmless delivery you've ever heard. His 2002 self-titled debut album went gold, but look at the feature list. Lil Wayne, T.I., Clips, Cameron, Jermaine Dupri. In every track that worked because of somebody else. Every verse Birdman delivered sounded like it was written during the car ride to the studio.
Worldwide general, cash money, young money, fire flame spitter.
Basic, repetitive, cars, money, respect, repeat. The rap critic once pointed out that his solo songs sounded like rejected Lil Wayne tracks because almost every single featured Wayne carrying him. But here's where the story gets darker. Because being a bad rapper who runs a label means you have leverage that actual MCs don't. And Birdman used that leverage in ways that damaged careers. Lil Wayne, the man who essentially was Cash Money for a decade, had to sue his way off the label. Wayne publicly said he felt like a prisoner. The Carter 5, one of the most anticipated albums in hip-hop history, was held hostage for years because of a contract dispute. B.I.G. had money issues with the label. Juvenile left over royalty disagreements.
Business, life to this game, flamed up and spitting it.
And through all of it, Birdman kept releasing albums, kept getting features, kept putting himself front and center on Cash Money compilations. Because when you own the machine, nobody tells you to stop rapping. You just keep going. And the people with actual talent around you either deal with it or leave. The irony of Birdman is that he discovered Lil Wayne, arguably the most talented rapper of his generation, and then spent 2 decades trying to convince everyone he was Wayne's equal on the mic. He wasn't, not for a second. But when you sign the checks, you get the studio time.
Lit with the lights, lit up for life.
Number 2, Silkk the Shocker. And if you know, you know, because this isn't just a bad rapper, this is the gold standard of being bad at rapping and still selling records anyway. The case study, the textbook example that professors would use if they taught a course on how the music industry actually works versus how it should work. Vishon Miller, Master P's younger brother, No Limit Records. And that right there tells you everything, because No Limit in the late 90s wasn't just a label, it was a machine. In 1998 alone, they released 23 albums and sold 15 million copies. Master P had built a system so efficient that it didn't matter what was on the record. The cover art, the distribution network, the brand loyalty, it all moved units regardless of quality. Silkk was the ultimate proof of concept. Charge It 2, the game dropped in 1998 and went platinum. Made Man came out in 1999 and debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. #1. A man who could not, and I say this with no disrespect intended, but with total accuracy, find the beat. Any beat on any song, ever. Go back and listen. Really listen. Every verse sounds like he's rapping to a completely different instrumental than what the producer actually laid down. The timing is off. The rhythm doesn't match. He's cramming too many syllables into spaces that don't fit or leaving dead air where words should be. Travis Scott dissed him on Wax Rapped about needing minus the bad rap like Silkk the Shocker. That's how embedded in the culture his reputation was. You could use his name as a punchline and everybody immediately understood. But here's what I think about when I hear Silkk the Shocker. I think about what No Limit actually was, a family business from the Calliope projects in New Orleans. Master P's older brother Kevin was killed in a robbery in 1990. His other brother C-Murder ended up incarcerated. Silkk was the one who stayed, the one who showed up, the one who was always on the label compilations, always touring, always present. And when Silkk addressed the worst rapper lists years later, he didn't get defensive. He just said, I sold more records than a majority of rappers. I had my own style. And honestly, he's not wrong about the first part. Double platinum is double platinum, but my own style is doing some heavy lifting in that sentence, because the style was being offbeat, consistently, professionally, lucratively offbeat, but you have to respect the hustle. And maybe the lesson of Silkk the Shocker isn't about how bad he was, it's about how powerful the right machine is. Put anybody, literally anybody, inside a system that dominant and they'll go platinum. The music was secondary. The machine was the product. And if you've ever watched somebody succeed at something they had no business succeeding at just because they had the right last name and the right connections, you know exactly how this feels. #1, Vanilla Ice. And honestly, was it ever going to be anybody else? Robert Matthew Van Winkle, a kid from Dallas, raised in Miami, rapping over a bass line he took straight from Queen and David Bowie's Under Pressure, without permission, without credit, and without shame. I'm trying to get away before the jack is jack. Police on the scene, you know what I mean? Ice Ice Baby drops as a B-side single, a DJ flips it to the A-side, and within weeks, it becomes the first hip-hop song in history to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Let that sink in. The first rap record to ever top the biggest chart in American music was by Vanilla Ice. Not Rakim, not Chuck D, not KRS-One, not Big Daddy Kane. Dance, crush a speaker that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly. And the culture has never fully recovered from that irony. To the Extreme sold over 15 million copies worldwide. It spent 16 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200. At the time, it was the fastest selling hip-hop album ever recorded.
For the chumps on the wall, the chumps acting ill because they're full of 8-ball gunshots.
Jive Records signed him for $325,000, and they told him to change his appearance, dress more commercially, look more accessible. And Van Winkle did it because the product was never about hip-hop. It was about selling hip-hop to people who didn't understand hip-hop. And then the truth started leaking. His biography was fabricated by the label. Claims about his street credibility were invented. He told interviewers the bass line was different from Under Pressure because he'd added an extra note. He actually said that on camera.
I'm on a roll. It's time to go solo.
When Queen and Bowie's lawyers came knocking, he settled out of court and eventually paid $4 million to buy the publishing rights outright because it was cheaper than fighting the lawsuit. But here's what really makes Vanilla Ice the worst rapper of all time. It's not that he couldn't rap, though he couldn't. It's not that the beat was stolen, though it was. It's that his success validated every fear the culture had about mainstream co-optation.
When I play a dope melody, anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it.
For years, real MCs had been warning that the industry would package a white face over a black art form and sell it back to America at a markup. And Ice Ice Baby was the proof. After the backlash hit, his career collapsed almost overnight. He went from selling out arenas to becoming a punchline. By 1999, even MTV had him on their show to ceremonially destroy his own music video's master tape. The man literally smashed his own legacy with a baseball bat on national television. And look, Van Winkle has found peace with it. He's got a real estate show now. The song still charts every winter. It recently climbed back to number 3 on the Billboard rap chart during the 2026 Winter Olympics buzz. The man is fine. But the scar he left on hip-hop's relationship with the mainstream, that never fully healed. Because every time a label packages authenticity it didn't earn, every time a rapper blows up off a sound they borrowed without crediting, every time the industry prioritizes marketability over artistry, there's a little Ice Ice Baby in there. And the culture remembers every single time.